I'd like to congratulate my honourable friend for such a superb and powerful opening to this debate, especially making the case for social housing and the importance of 100% social housing, affordable housing on those sites released by government. If the member will excuse me, I'm going to take a slightly different journey and talk about what the opportunities are for release of public land in relation to creating jobs, which is an essential part of creating that fairer society that we want to see. Now, Mr. Paisley, this will be an unashamed plug for Plymouth. And as many of you will know, for those who have heard me speak in this here, I'm very proud to be a Janner, very proud to be from Plymouth. But the experience and the journey that Plymouth has been on, I think, can tell a lot about the One Public Estate and how it fits with other government programmes, in particular the Government Hub programme, which I think has a good opportunity to create jobs in my part of the world. Now, I was intending to spend a bit of time talking about how fabulous the far southwest was until I saw the new minister in his place, and I believe that as the member for Torbay, he may have an inkling as to just what a fantastic part of the world the far southwest, South Devon in particular, may be. And I know he knows Plymouth very well. Mr. Paisley, I want to see the government start realising at a faster pace its ambition to move jobs out of central London and into the regions. And I think, in particular, into those regions who have missed out on many of those large government relocations in the past. The far southwest, Devon and Cornwall in particular, is one of those areas where I believe there is an appetite for greater investment. There is a willing and skilled workforce that can support our public sector objectives, and there's an opportunity using the lower land costs to actually realise not only benefits for the taxpayer in terms of output, but benefits for the taxpayer in terms of economic activity and cost to the taxpayer. We know that, on average, good quality, affordable business premises in Plymouth and the far southwest are around a third cheaper than the similar properties in many parts of the southeast. Considerable savings can be made when you look at savings in central London in particular. And I think the principles behind the One Public Estate strategy actually support moving more jobs into the regions. Programmes that channel funding and support through councils to deliver ambitious property-based projects tend to work best when there's opportunity, land and a willingness and a real drive to do so. And actually, the opportunity to work more with local councils is something that I think this debate really should have as a thread running through it. Because from those initial small cohort of councils when the One Public Estate strategy was first formed, we now have, as my honourable friend was saying, nearly all English local authorities involved. And entrepreneurial, innovative local councils are really driving forward very interesting and beneficial property development. Happy giving way.
I thank the member for giving way. Would agree with me that he's now going down a route that is particularly advantageous for other parts of the United Kingdom, not just in terms of developing social housing, but the economic benefits that can be derived by government looking at disposing of surplus land that isn't really required over the course of the next 10 or 20 years, but that needs an intensive consultation with local communities to arrive at the conclusion that he and I seem to share.
Luke Pollard.
I think there is an importance of what government land is disposed of, how it is disposed, and where the benefits of that disposal flow. Because we have seen in Plymouth in particular, a city with a very large military pedigree and current military role, that many of our former armed forces bases have been sold off, but the benefits of that sale have been taken to the Exchequer in London and not delivered to the communities that previously gained employment and investment and a sense of identity from those military bases. Now, I think there is an opportunity to use much of that surplus land, which is owned by a cohort of public authorities, ranging from the Ministry of Defence through to all the Ministry of Defence weird and wonderful agencies, through to Plymouth City Council, through to different parts of the government estate to come together. And I think if the government is to realise its ambition of moving from 800 to 200 government offices by 2023, I think the idea of creating a government hub in the far southwest, in Plymouth, where we already have shown that civil service and public service jobs through the land registry and through previously the child support agency can thrive, I think it is a good opportunity. Now, we've lost out on the Marine Management Organisation towards the end of 2010, and many of us in the far southwest still talk about how we lost out on the Wealth Tax Agency in 1979, scuppered by the election of a Tory government that perhaps wasn't too keen on creating a wealth tax agency. Who would know? But there is, I think, a real opportunity, and I think, Mr. Paisley, if you just forgive me just a moment, just talk about Plymouth's One Public Estate journey. You know, the unlocking of South Yard in Devonport has been an incredible success. That was surplus land owned by the Ministry of Defence that wasn't being used for Royal Navy purposes. That has been repurposed as Oceansgate, and through the One Public Estate programme, that is creating new marine jobs. Plymouth has a huge opportunity in marine science and marine engineering, and Oceansgate is helping unlock that. It is taking far too long in terms of still overcoming the logistical barriers between the detail of what the MOD might want and what businesses might want, but that is a challenge that can be overcome. OPE 3, 4 and 5, the funding streams, I think have helped us develop our integrated health and wellbeing hubs. Now, there's a huge potential here. We've spoken about some of those big aggregated services, but GP surgeries, mental health support, sexual health testing, social care can all come together on a much smaller micro level. And indeed, I'd encourage the Minister to have a word with his new colleague in the Department for Health around the Super Hub project that Plymouth has applied for funding from DH4, which would bring sexual health testing, a 8 to 12 chair dental surgery, enabling dental students from Plymouth Superb Dental School to help learn and treat people in some of our poorest communities in the city, right next to the city centre, directly employed GP surgeries, mental health support, health and wellbeing services, all under one building at Colin Campbell Court, if the honourable member knows it well. But actually there's a huge opportunity there, and actually part of this One Public Estate strategy has to be to mobilise and motivate other government departments to make decisions that might be slightly off their usual funding streams, but I think there's an opportunity for doing that. The other part of it, Mr. President, I'd like to just mention briefly is in relation to the Better Defence Estate. Now, my honourable friend spoke very passionately about some of its successes and some of its failures, and that is a similar journey that we've had in Plymouth. The successes of relocating the Royal Marines from Royal Marines Turnchapel, releasing that land, creating what is now a world-class centre for autonomous marine engineering, has been a huge success. Their new base at Royal Marines Tamar, at the very north of Devonport, has been an incredible success for the Royal Marines, giving quick and easy access to the Tamar and then through that to the Plymouth Sound, to the training facilities at HMS Raleigh, and a superb new state-of-the-art facility for our Royal Marines there. But there's also been failures of the One Public Estate, and that has largely come also about the Royal Marines in relation to the closure of Stonehouse Barracks. There has been an attempt to rationalise that defence estate by closing the spiritual home of the Royal Marines, the only purpose-built barracks for the Royal Marines that is still in use from the day it was opened to today. It's not fit for purpose, that barracks. There's no hot running water in many of the accommodations blocks, the showers don't work, the heating doesn't work. It's not something that we should expect of our Royal Marines when they are at home. Many of them will accept that when on deployment, but not when they're at home. And I'll be grateful if the Minister could encourage his colleagues in the Ministry of Defence to look, now that we have seen the government U-turn on its commitment to build a super base in Plymouth, bringing Royal Marines to our city, how the programme of relocating the 3 Commando Brigade from Stonehouse Barracks to a new purpose-built facility can be accelerated, because the new date of 2028 is a long time away for our Royal Marines to not have hot water in their accommodation. And I think that is something that all of us would agree is unacceptable. I think there is an opportunity to create a new government hub in Plymouth, bringing together civil service and public service jobs from the centre of London to create a new, a superb facility in Plymouth. And as the Minister will know, Plymouth is not only a centre that can create jobs within the Plymouth and the PL postcode boundary, but can also draw in and create jobs for those people that live in the wider Plymouth travel to work area, or perhaps the Greater Torbay area, depending on your perspective, to help us create a wider economic benefit for our region. I think there are many failings of the One Public Estate strategy. Happy to.
I'm minded when he's making his contribution there that the Northern Ireland things are very, very different what we've done, but government has taken a policy for what were former army barracks and so on, to turn them into intergenerational places where the communities can come together, where the economy of the country can come together, where business can build, where councils can be involved. That's all happening on an army basis. In other words, the benefactors are the community of all sides. There's an opportunity that we've done in Northern Ireland, something similar for where the honourable gentleman lives.
Order. I really do feel the honourable gentleman has a speech waiting to get out of him today. I'm tempted to put him on the notice paper, whether he wants to or not. Luke Pollard.
Thank you, Mr Paisley. I take what the honourable gentleman has said, and actually, within Plymouth, although we're better known for the Royal Navy and the Royal Marines, we do have an army base at the Citadel. And one of the concerns that I have frequently with the Defence Disposal Programme is that on the MOD maps, they draw a red line around the site. And that is the land in which they choose to dispose. And actually, what I think we need to do is take a much more holistic approach as to what does that community need, what's further beyond that red line, what benefits can be accrued for the wider community of the disposal, especially when it comes to disposing of military defence bases, for whom the identity of the local community and the employment is so often intricately involved with that military purpose of that base. So I'd encourage the Minister to have words with his MOD colleagues to do that. But as I was saying, Mr Paisley, I think the one public estate has had many failures, but it's also had some successes. And I think what this debate needs to do today is to encourage the Minister to keep tweaking those elements that aren't quite right, but also to seek to unblock the decision-making process that's delaying the relocation of civil service and public service jobs from central London in particular to the regions, because my sense is that there are decisions waiting to be made, waiting to be announced, that could have a profound and positive economic effect on the regions, especially in the far southwest. And I would encourage the Minister under his new job to give the cage a little bit of a rattle and see if we can accelerate some of those decisions, because there are jobs to be created and value to be restored and money to be saved for the taxpayer in doing so, as well as looking at that wider opportunity of creating more affordable homes for people and decent jobs. Thank you, Mr Paisley.